stop, listen, and ask yourself, have you ever pondered at the idea that there may be something to the other side? If so, and you're hearing my voice for the first time, then you may have just fallen into the void.
Hi, this is Kevin Valentine with Creep It Real OC Expo, and I'm falling with G-Man into the void.
Hey there, hello there, and welcome, bats and ghouls, to another exciting episode of Into the Void, where we talk about anything and everything paranormal. I am your ghost host with the most, G-Man, and if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Welcome to a podcast show where the main focus isn't just about things that we can't see in the dark, but also where you can get the latest news on Halloween events and haunts happening around you. So get ready, light some sage, set up your crystals, and send some positive vibes, because for this episode, we cut through the void and into some more family-friendly talk that's sure to lift your Halloween spirits. As always, a big thank you to everyone who has been following with us. Your support truly helps make this show and its future endeavors possible. You can show your support and more by becoming a Patreon member. Just visit patreon.com/intothevoidpod. That's patreon.com/intothevoidpod. Also, a big thank you to Kevin Valentine for coming in and talking with us. For more on him, go back and listen to the last episode. So here on Into the Void, we love a good ghost story and talking about all things that go bump in the night. We love learning and discovering the paranormal world and what it has to offer. But we also love being a part of something that has become very near and dear to our hearts, and that is the haunt community. With the haunt season just around the corner and this ongoing pandemic, we have been seeing many Halloween events canceled. Does this mean Halloween is canceled too? Well, I'm here to tell you this. Halloween's not dead. In fact, it may feel different this year, but the Halloween spirit is still very much alive. But before I go any further on the subject, let's bring out my amazing co-hosts. Now, you know him as the man who controls the level of our voices like the moon taming the waves. And he's an employee of this wonderful establishment known as Undercity Comics here in Whittier, California. Bats and ghouls, please welcome the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Rene, the Pumpkin King Bravo. Is that a good one?
That's a good one.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Good to be back, just here for this special episode.
Yes.
I'm super excited.
Oh, I am too. Well, also joining us is a man who makes the ghouls drool, banshees sing, and will leave skeletons with a bone-chattering dance. In fact, Rene, I heard a rumor. The rumor is that the Invisible Man once asked him for advice on how to get people to see him and not through him. Well, bats and ghouls, please show some love and give it up for the strange one.
Hey, listeners, how's it going? Great to be back. And by the way, the answer that they responded was just be yourself and be open.
Ah, okay. I like that. Mm-hmm. Strange one, how you been?
Just happy to be back in studio.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, before I continue here, I want to bring something up to you. I was at the 99-cent store. Mm-hmm. I was picking up some milk, and I just so happened to see something on the shelves, something of the Halloween nature. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, it was a small little section, maybe about like the size of half the table here, but
that's about 2 feet.
It's about 2 feet.
Like,
but
what?
I will say, the excitement is starting to rise. Mm-hmm. Halloween's coming. And also, gentlemen, as I stated, Halloween is not dead. We simply just have to adapt this year.
I think it's more of the Living Dead variety.
Okay. The Living Dead. And that's exactly what we're going to do for this episode. We are talking about the types of people, vendors, haunt enthusiasts, and conventions who are adapting to this time and what they are doing to ensure that the Halloween spirit stays alive and well. So we have with us a special guest who will be sharing with us what he and his ghostly crew have been up to keep the Halloween All Hallows Eve spirit above ground. But before we introduce our guest, I have a very important announcement to make right after a word from our sponsor. Looking for quality Viking apparel inspired by the Norse gods of old? Well, there's only one place you can be sure to find the gear you're searching for: VikingJeans.com. Unlike other Viking-themed retailers, Viking Jeans supplies handcrafted jewelry, watches, home decor, and apparel. They even forge and engrave steel axes. Viking Jeans is sure to have something to satisfy your fascination towards Norse mythology. Be sure to visit VikingJeans.com. That's VikingJeans.com. All right. Well, once again, I'm here with Rene and the Strange One. And gentlemen, I want to ask you a question. During the holidays, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, there seems to be a lot of giving back within the communities. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
No argument.
Okay.
Definitely.
So whether it's donating clothes, volunteering your time in a soup kitchen, or the annual Toys for Tots drive, do you know of any other ways to give back?
Well, I'm pretty sure that we're about to find out.
That's a good transition.
Let me ask you this. Do you know of any other ways to give back in the month of October?
Not really, actually.
Okay, that's fine. Well, the thing we are doing here on Into the Void is working with a team to bring the joy of Halloween to children who may not be able to have a Halloween this year, given these social distance restrictions. Now, how, may you ask?
How? How, G-Man? Please, tell us.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Strange One. With the National COVID-19 Halloween Fun Packs Project, it's a non-profit project whose goal is to provide children who have been affected by COVID-19 with a free packet of candy or non-candy and treats. Now, if you or know someone who have been affected by COVID-19 and is unable to participate in some Halloween fun, visit their website and register. And also, listener, you can make a donation by visiting their GoFundMe page. Your donation will help bring the joy of Halloween to a child missing out this year. Visit them at www.halloweenfunpackproject.com. That's www.halloweenfunpackproject.com. Well, my frightfully fun friends, let's get to this episode's main event. So, let me take you guys back to the summer of 2016. You guys remember that summer?
Yeah.
It was hot. I remember that, how hot it was. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but that was the summer that would arouse my love, nay, my passion for Halloween even more. You see, that summer morning, I remember waking up, getting some coffee, and looking at my phone, curious to learn of what types of Halloween events would be happening that year. Granted, there was still 2 months before Halloween, and lo and behold, to my surprise, on my phone, I found something that was happening in the next couple of hours. So, my family and I made our way to Long Beach, California, for one of the greatest Halloween conventions to ever grace California. My opinion, by the way. Midsummer Scream, now the biggest Halloween convention in Southern California, has made such a name for itself. With vendors and activities to big-name entertainers and horror movie film stars. In fact, big-name YouTube stars have also made their way to this macabre fun. But who would choose to have Halloween in the summer? Who is or are the masterminds behind such an amazing and diverse event? Well, bats and ghouls. I am happy to announce that our guest for this episode is here to provide us with some insight and even a bit of a history lesson on how this event came about. Ladies and gentlemen, bats and ghouls, Halloween fanatics of all ages, it is my honor to present to you, here in studio, Mr. Rick West.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Hey, Rick. Glad
All
you made it.
right, yeah,
Well, Mr. West or Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
absolutely.
So how are you doing on this most auspicious Saturday?
This is actually pretty relaxing because I spent the last week and a half or so moving.
Okay.
And, great time to move, the hottest part of the summer so far, where we get to wear masks, so it feels like I'm getting waterboarded as I'm moving boxes, and no, but so this is a great change of pace for me.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That's good.
That's great.
Yeah, we're all adapting. We're all adapting right now.
We've been
bet.
looking forward to this interview. We're just like,
Awesome.
Next one, okay, we're gonna have this, and then Rick West's coming, and it's gonna be this
Awesome.
week. He's coming.
Fun.
He's coming.
Yes.
I was like, it kind of feels like you're making him out to be Santa Claus.
Aw.
Well, let me, if I could, real quick, because we do have some questions that we want to
Sure, of
ask you,
course.
but I want to say this right now. The story I told of going to Midsummer Scream and discovering it all was got to be the highlight of that summer.
Awesome.
And it does. I will say this: it does not top my children being born, because you can never top a moment like that. But
Yeah.
I will definitely put it up there.
Awesome, man. I love
Because I remember just walking down those steps into the double doors of that giant hall. And now it was 2016, so that was the early time of
that was Hall A.
of when it just started. And so there wasn't a lot of people yet, but there was still enough.
Yes.
And there was plenty to see, plenty to do. So all I got to say is thank you for starting this thing, and that was just amazing.
Awesome. You're welcome. That's it's great, and I'm sure we'll get into how it started and how grateful we are that it didn't crash and burn, and that you were able to come have a good time.
Oh yes, definitely.
We will get there.
So I would like to say this though, and I'd like to express how sorry we are that Midsummer Scream will not be taking place this year.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, and we're very sorry. And again, we'll get to this too, but it was the most agonizing decision that the team has had to make in the 4 years that we've done Midsummer, 4.5, almost 5 now. But in fact, in all the years, because we've for almost 10 years we've been doing conventions, because we also started Scare LA back in the day.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. You guys started Scare LA.
Yeah, so out of everything, it was like this was the heaviest decision that we've had to make.
Oh man.
And so we fought this beast off as long as we could, and we just ultimately figured, well, there's no way around this.
Yeah.
And so we are sorry. We feel sorry for you guys and the community, and we know that even though it's not our fault, it let a lot of people down because everybody was very excited about Midsummer, us included.
Right. Yeah.
So thank you.
Well, so for our listeners out there, for those who aren't aware of this, you are the co-founder and creative director of Midsummer Scream. So what is the role of the creative director, and who are the masterminds behind the brilliance of this convention?
Sure. Well, there are 4 of us. David Markland is our executive director, and then Gary Baker is our executive producer, and Claire Dunlap is our supervising producer. I don't. We don't call each other by our titles very often, right? And then I'm the creative director, and we all co-founded it.
Okay.
So it's all our baby, and even though we have different titles, quote unquote titles, we are all creative directors of it because it's a very creative process.
Right.
That we all sit around and we yay nay about things, and that's polite.
Yeah.
We're comfortable enough around each other where we're like, dude, that really sucks. That's a horrible idea, really. So, but we all sit around and we banter this stuff back and forth. It's about an 18-month process now.
Wow.
To do Midsummer. So, we were already well into, like, when we launched last year's show, we were already talking about what we were going to do for our 5th anniversary in 2020. And so, it's a long process and a long-sighted thing. So we are all part of the creative process, but that's the 4 of us. And then we have a core team of about 20, 25 people that really kind of are our tent poles that really handle the different aspects of the show under our direction. And then, of course, we have the White Bats, which is our support team, and they number in the hundreds.
Oh, wow.
And they are our frontline people, and without our White Bats, we don't have a show.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you can be a producer of these things, but if you don't have amazing frontline people under you running things for you,
right,
you don't get to look good.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, right? So, no, we're very grateful for the entire Midsummer team.
Awesome. That's amazing. So what was the motivation to host such an event?
Insanity.
Okay.
No, so it started with Scare LA, and David Markland and another producer at the time came to me and said, "Look, we David does an event production, and then she did marketing, and they said, we know how to put an event together. We just don't have the deep reach into the community that you have." And at the time, and up until fairly recently, I was the creator of Theme Park Adventure, which was the oldest online fan site for theme parks.
Right.
I started it in '94.
Okay.
That was before the internet, actually, even if you can imagine that. And so we started in print, and just because of my own love of Halloween, I had a very, very storied and very deep, passionate connection to the haunts and haunt community here in Southern California. And so as just kind of as a default result, they came at me and said, you've got to be part of this, because you have all the contacts.
That's
Whether
awesome.
it's theme parks or individual haunters or fans or whatever, you have that already built in.
Oh, wow.
So suddenly I was an asset. And, so I said, sure, I'll do a convention. And for the first few years, we did really great. And the growth was phenomenal on Scare LA. And then there was an internal rift. And we broke away. About 90% of the team broke away. And we were actually at Transworld at the time in 2016 when this was happening. And it was just, without getting into the gory details, it was just like a total crash and burn. And we were like, well, that's all, folks. And Gary Baker said, and Gary all along had been in charge of all of our AV for Scare LA, and then now he is in charge of all that for Midsummer. He was like, no, we've given something very special for the community, so you can't just walk away from this.
Right, yeah.
And so he got together with David Markland, and they talked, and they came at me and said, look, we want to create something else. We want to create something else. And they were just very matter of fact about it. They said, we can't do this without you. And I just thought, oh man, this has been such a drag. This business breakup has been such a drag. I really don't know that I want to go through this again.
Right, yeah.
And I was actually the holdout. It's funny because now I probably am the one that does most of the interviews and things like that. And I was the holdout. I was the one that was like, I don't know if I want to do this type of thing.
Right.
And go through this again. And so we said, okay, fine, we'll give it a shot. And we literally had from, okay, we'll do it, we'll do something, to opening the doors. We had about 4 months, which is unreal. And if we had not had our experience creating Scare LA for several years, there's no way we could have done Midsummer. Right. And so the origins of Midsummer were a lot smaller than we eventually ended up with. So if you look at some of our earlier stuff, here's your homework tonight, kids. You go look at some of our earlier stuff, and it says Midsummer Scream Halloween Festival. So the idea was we would have a bunch of spooky vendors. We would have music. We'd have music playing. It could even be like an outdoor type venue. And it would just literally, for like a weekend or whatever, be a festival.
Ooh, okay.
And it suddenly then started embiggening.
Yeah.
And it got bigger and bigger. And we're like, well,
right.
wait, we've got to have the theme parks participate with us. And so now we need a really big stage for the theme parks to make their announcements. And suddenly we had a full-fledged convention on our hands. And, it was, I think, a very ambitious first year, because we landed at Long Beach Convention Center. And in our first year, we had 8,000 guests, which for a first year, quote unquote first year, even though a lot of people knew that we had come from Scare LA, for a first year con, that's pretty darn good.
I wanted to say, actually, because in 2016 you guys had over 8,000 attendance.
Yeah, we did.
2017 then you guys had over 15,000 attendance. 2018 22,500.
Yeah.
And in 2019, over 30,000 in attendance.
Yeah.
And your event just continues to grow exceedingly.
We were expecting over 40,000 this year.
Oh my gosh! I remember last year I stood in that line. I got there. I tried to get there as early as I could, but I mean everybody was there.
Yeah, of course.
Before the sun was up.
Oh yeah, we had people that camp.
My gosh!
Yeah.
And so I get there and I'm like, cool. The line's not too big, so I get there and all of a sudden I'm walking, and then I go down these steps, and then I go down past this lake, And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
And then you cross the border into Tijuana.
Seriously.
And somewhere down there, you find the end of the line.
Yeah.
Juan will give you your tickets at the end.
That's right.
I mean, it was again, I got there early enough to where the line moved and we were able to get up to the bridge. So I was like, cool, I'm on the bridge. That's like my guarantee of I will get in.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, yes.
But at the same time, seeing that many people that early in the morning and then helicopters flying around to see, to report about how big it is, just amazing. I do have to ask, though, did you ever expect this outcome to grow to be one of the highest rated and beloved Halloween events around?
I think that, boy, it's hard not to answer that and not sound like a hothead, but you go into these things knowing that you are going to expect from yourself and therefore from the rest of the team a certain level of guest service. And the way we create Midsummer Scream is we all have different backgrounds. I have a very heavy theme park background. And so the way that we've created the convention is really kind of the way that you create a theme park as far as ops go and things like that. And the number one is customer service,
right,
and your guest service, right?
That's right.
So we feel very confident in saying that out of the cons out there, like nobody can touch us as far as like our customer service and the white bat service that people get and all that. We're very proud of that.
Oh, good.
And that's not by accident. I mean, we hold orientations. There's a whole indoctrination into this thing.
Yeah, there's an
so
entire
you're a
process.
Family.
Yeah.
Most conventions, you say, hey, do you want to be a volunteer? And people show up and here's your shirt. Stand here for the day.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And we just don't do that. We have an entire handbook that we personally update every year.
Wow.
We have a slideshow. We have videos that we show. We rent out a movie theater and do this in a movie theater.
Wow.
In sets. And if people don't attend this, they really can't be part of the team.
Okay.
Because we don't want people that are just showing up just so they can get in free.
Right.
You know, whatever. No, you're part of something very special here. And we understand that the minute you have an upset guest or you do something where you kind of blow it, you have to work so much harder to get that person back.
Right. Yeah.
And so we just don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of, I'm personally pretty fanatical about customer service when it comes to Midsummer Scream, and we all are. And that just goes back to because I used to be a cast member at Disneyland. So that was drilled into the back of my head.
So I was going to say that actually when you started talking about the customer service and how you treat all the people, the attendees that are at this event, when you walk in that event, gentlemen, it's almost like you're walking into a Halloween Disneyland. I mean, granted, you guys even have it's a I want to say it's a PT Cruiser that shows up from Haunted Mansion, or it's got like a bunch of Haunted Mansion decal all over it.
She's up from the Bay Area, and she came one year and parked the car. We had the whole Haunted Mansion area.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah.
But when you walk in there, you just get this sense of like you're okay. If something, if you need something or if something's gonna, go down, like it's handled to where everyone just feels safe and comfortable going in there.
Yeah.
And I know I didn't write this down, but this is just amazing. The kind of feel that you get when you walk into this convention. Now, again, I've been to a couple other Halloween conventions, and a lot of them are outside. Very well done. Very, very, the way they path everything, it's really well done. This, because of how big it is for Midsummer Scream, you guys have such a open area, but you don't have like specific ways that you have to walk. You can walk any way you want through there. And I like that. I really like the sense of freedom of being able to do that. Now, granted, of course, with this pandemic, and if you guys were to have Midsummer Scream, I imagine there would have been a lot of restrictions and a lot of policies that would have been in place. But at the same time, it's the feel that you get when you go there. It is such a Disneyland feel when you get in. Yeah,
like I'm gonna get on the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. It's by design. It's not an accident, and I think that the secret is rather than a con, and obviously we're a major con, but rather than a con, we see ourselves as a community.
Yes.
Right? And so every year I like to say it's homecoming.
Oh,
right?
I like that.
Everybody comes.
That.
We typically in this community grew up kind of being the outsider kids, right? Yeah. And so I always say that it's like coming home once a year to the island of misfit toys.
It really does feel like
and
that.
We all get there, and everybody. We have people that travel across the country, sometimes from around the world, by themselves.
Wow.
And when they get there, they say, "Oh no, I don't feel alone at all. I make friends right away, and I'm with family."
Oh no, you do.
And
You
it's
absolutely
amazing.
do. I'm only saying this because I got to go last year and I was just so excited to even be there. When I went, I was able to actually meet two YouTubers who I've been wanting to meet for the longest time, and they go to all these like events, filming all this stuff for their vlogs. And I got to meet this guy named Justin Scared.
Oh, we love Justin.
Oh, he's
yeah.
amazing.
He's a madman.
Yes, he is.
He's crazy.
Oh.
He's a madman.
And his Random Land videos are amazing. If you get a chance, listen to check him out on YouTube. And then also Adam the Woo was there.
Yep. Adam was there.
Great man. Also a vlogger. He goes from like Florida to California, all over the place. And I gotta say, it really you do just make friends there, and you really do feel like you're home. I mean, going down that steps and walking through those double doors, I literally said, "I'm home. This is nice."
Yeah, we love that.
I live here now.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you: Do you ever worry that the event may outgrow the Long Beach Convention Center?
No, because like I say, we do a lot of things. Well, we do everything pretty much by design. And we have agreed already internally that we never want it to get the size of something like a Comic-Con, where it's just so big that it doesn't feel intimate anymore. I mean, it is big. We take up the entire Long Beach Convention Center. That's
Right.
not an easy task, right?
Right, yeah.
That's a very big animal with a lot of moving parts, and that's why it takes so long to create this thing and to pull it off successfully. But we have decided that we would rather cap ticket sales, because we don't want so many people in the building where you can't walk and it sucks, and it's a 2-hour wait for one of the mini haunts, and we just never want that experience for anybody.
Right.
Because again, like I said, the minute that happens, they ain't coming back.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we model basically everything at Midsummer off of the show that we would want to go to as fans. And ironically enough, one of the things that I can't stand are crowds of people. So create a convention, Rick. You know, I swear it's different when you're running the thing.
Right.
You know, but it is one of those things where we are very, very in tune and very aware of people's comfort level. And so even though there are a lot of people that come, and there's more room for people, you know, in the Long Beach Convention Center, we've all agreed. And it actually happened in 2018. We sold out. We capped ticket sales.
Oh wow.
On a Saturday, because in the afternoon people were just still coming through the doors.
Oh wow.
And they weren't ticket holders. They were people coming through to buy, you know, tickets at the door. And so we gave a heads up on social media and said, "Hey, we're almost out of tickets. If you don't have them, probably shouldn't come down at this point."
Yeah.
And we just capped it off.
That's
And-
smart. But
and-
that's
and it was-
smart though.
We have always, yes, we are a business, and it's a big business, but it is first and foremost always about the experience, not about filling our coffers.
Okay.
We are all about the experience, because we want everybody to have fun. We want to have fun.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, business success will follow if you do it right. But boy, I mean, a comparison that I think a lot of people that are listening probably would know. How fun is it to go to Disneyland these days when it's so packed every day that it's like a Saturday used to be 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to wait 4 hours for a
Dude,
ride.
and that's every day,
Yeah.
right? And to me, it's like, that's just not fun anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to how many people you can cram in for profit over how many people you can invite in for an amazing experience, it's going to be, for our team, the experience every day, all the time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. It gives me a sense of relief too, you know, because I too don't like crowds. In fact, if I go to the market and there's too many people, I'm like, I'll come back later. I don't want to be in a crowd. I'd rather be on my own. But I'm happy to hear that you take that into considering, and that just means that we need to make sure we get our tickets beforehand. I
There
I
you
already
go.
know you have yours.
I will be very, let me this way. I will be paying very close attention to the Instagram and website for when the tickets go on sale for next year, because I want to be first in line.
Nice.
So we're going camping, guys.
Yeah, we're
Where?
camping.
Long
Going
Beach
camping.
Convention Center.
Tell my kids we're going camping and we go to the Long Beach Convention Center.
Right. The ground's hard, you know.
I brought you a pillow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had a question. Each year, there are more and more like wonderful vendors at this. I was just looking it up at the previous events. Has the process for selecting these vendors become more rigorous, or is it more a first come first serve? Do you seek these vendors, or do these vendors like, hey, I want to be a part of your event? How can I be a part of it?
The answer is yes.
On everything.
That's the short answer. Yes.
Right.
This is really David Markland's sandbox, and he does a phenomenal job curating our vendors. In the beginning, it was just kind of like, hey, we're going to do this Halloween show, and we'd sure love it if you'd come be part of it, type of thing, right? And now there is a list that we do cut off, and it's usually very early because we have a lot of returning vendors. We have usually over 325 vendors on the show floor, which is pretty massive. And what David is very good about, and what he's adamant about, is that there aren't 50 t-shirt vendors all selling the same thing, or that there aren't people selling the same line of widgets, because you really want the floor to be a unique mix, and you don't want to start cannibalizing everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So he is very cognizant of that, and David has a great relationship literally with all of our vendors. And now how he does it, that's beyond me, because my big thing, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more, is my sandbox really is the Hall of Shadows, right? And so just like wrangling 20 haunts or whatever, that is like a full-time gig, making sure that everybody's on the same page. So how David handles the 300 plus vendors every year, that is just that's a bunch of magic. And he's I'm actually glad it's not on my plate, because I'm not really a details guy. You got to be a details guy for that kind of thing,
Right.
And so no, he is really on top of it, and I think that everybody agrees that he just does a phenomenal job of bringing in an awesome mix of vendors. And there are guidelines where we don't want somebody coming in if they're just going to be selling Arrowhead water, type of thing. It has to relate to our community.
Yeah.
So we're not at the point where we're like, well, if they're going to buy a booth, sure they can come. No, we have no problem filling the show floor. So we do get at this point to pick and choose who's there.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have another question,
Yeah.
because we're thinking about, I was on the topic of vendors, and I'm a little hungry.
He's hungry again.
I'm hungry.
The strange one's hungry again.
Yeah.
So our last episode, when we were talking with Kevin Valentine, I had a moment about talking about food, and I got really distracted with it. So same question. When it comes to choosing, or basically the same question as the vendors, does that apply towards food vendors? Do your food vendors come to you, or do you seek out? I know that there are, for like food trucks, there are actually communities to go to, and then they can pull in vendors. And do you actually try to pull in any vendors with themed closer towards your event?
And the answer to that is no.
Yes.
There you go. Yes and no. It's a very easy interview. The Long Beach Convention Center controls that with an iron fist.
Wow.
Oh,
We have zero say in food or beverage
Really?
at the show, including the food trucks outside. They are contracted by the convention center. Now, if somebody contacts us, and this does happen, they say, hey, we've got a truck and we think we'd be perfect for the show. We tell them, okay, that's great. Then you need to contact so-and-so at the LBCC, because we have no say in that. We have no control over that.
Wow.
So even restaurants that are in the area, I know there's one or two of them. I think California Pizza Kitchen, and I think what used to be Famous Days Barbecue, it's called something else now. I think they have a contract with the convention center where they can come bring like some of their mobile stuff up there or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But no, it is completely controlled, and that's why we also don't really have any food vendors on the floor, because
I noticed that.
there's a special licensing fee that they have to pay for that, and it's pretty cost prohibitive.
Oh, wow.
And so, unfortunately, and we hate that, because we have a lot of fantastic friends in the community that make just outrageous themed cakes and cookies and things like that.
Yeah.
And we have to tell them no every year,
Oh,
just
my.
because it's too cost prohibitive for them as vendors
Wow.
to come in. It's some astronomical number that they have to pay the convention center a day, and so that's just not in the cards, unfortunately. So there you go. We have zero. So we know it. We hear people complain all the time about pricing or selection or what. We have zero say over that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, this is all fascinating, and
There
I
you go.
know we have so many more questions that we would like to ask. But before we go any further, here's a word from our sponsor. by Odin's beard. You would not believe the amazing findings at VikingJeans.com. From handcrafted jewelry to home decor, to clothing and apparel from infants to adults, VikingJeans.com has something for the Norse fanatic in everyone. I, for one, have my eye on the great Yggdrasil handmade wooden watch. Looking to impress that special shield maiden? Why not stun her with Molnir, a handmade pendant and necklace? The beauty and craftsmanship that goes into each piece of art is as though each item was crafted by the gods themselves. Be sure to find yours at VikingJeans.com. That's VikingJeans.com. All right, welcome back, Bats and Ghouls. We are talking with Rick West, the co-founder and creative director of Midsummer Scream. Before our break, I mentioned that we have a few more questions. So let's discuss some of the big names that you've had so far, such as Cassandra Peterson, known to many as Elvira, the Mistress of the Dark, and John Kassir, who voices the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt, just to name a few. Do you have to reach out to invite them, or are these talents asking to be a part of the event?
So it's a strange mix with that. Usually there is an initial ask, right? But then once they come and they have done Midsummer and they see how smooth it is and how much fun they have doing it, usually they want to be part of it year after year.
Oh, okay.
Cassandra's been a big supporter of ours, and we have a great relationship with her. And so she's been at the show the past several years, and that's really great. John Kassir is somebody that David Markland brought in to the show. And it's great. And then very often vendors also. Vendors sometimes will know, celebrities and that type of thing.
Right.
Because what we do, what we do is we're not a celebrity show. So very often throughout the year, we will just get cold calls all the time saying, "Hey, I represent 50 people that you need to have at your show." And we're like, "That's awesome," but probably not, because we are not an autograph show. Number one, autographs are expensive and they have their time and place, right? But at Midsummer Scream, if somebody spends $65 on an autograph or a picture with somebody, well, then that's $65 that they're not spending with our vendors and artisans.
Okay.
I see what you mean.
And
That's great consideration.
And so we are very loyal to people that have been with us every year. And again, that's one of those by design decisions that we've made, is that, yes, we do have celebrities from time to time, and yes, they do sign autographs and they set their own prices and all that stuff, right? You got to have that at a convention. But that is like, I call it the hall of awkward eye contact, where it's like you're going down this middle aisle and there's like 50, older folks that have been in movies you've never heard of, and they're all staring at you like, "Oh my God, don't make eye contact. They're going to want to." I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I find that awkward, and I find it sad also. And I just, to me, that's not the Midsummer thing.
Okay.
That's just not the Midsummer thing.
Yeah.
Now, if Stephen King wants to come down and sign, he is more than welcome to come out to Midsummer. And but there are a few people on a bucket list that we would love to have at Midsummer, but we don't actively go out and scout like different celebrities unless they are part of a panel. We'll do a big panel like we did the Hocus Pocus panel,
Right. Yeah.
And then suddenly you have those folks there or whatever, So if it ties in with something we're doing, then that makes more sense.
Okay.
For us to work out something with a celebrity like that. But just to have them there, to have them on the floor, sometimes you do. Most of the time we don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, many people seem to be holding live events online to provide substance for their patrons, given the outdoor activity restrictions placed as a result of this pandemic. So, according to the Midsummer Scream Instagram, it says you'll be having a live stream that'll be happening. Can you elaborate more on what we can expect from that?
Yes, I can.
All right.
David sent me. So I have to give credit where credit's due. David Markland has really kind of been this is his baby.
Oh, awesome.
And because when we decided we were going to not do the show this year, it was like, well, then what do we do? Because everybody's doing virtual stuff. And honestly, the first gut reaction was not really anything, because you can't replicate the feeling of being at Midsummer,
Right.
sitting on your couch, staring at YouTube or
Right,
or whatever it
yeah.
is. So we figured, if we were going to do something, we certainly wouldn't call it Midsummer Scream, So we are doing a live stream, and it's going to be 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday, August 1st. And we kind of played with the whole thing, the Midsummer Scream there in spirit.
Oh, awesome.
That's kind of the thing we're playing with. And everybody can find all the info at midsummerscream.org/live.
Nice.
That's going to be where all that info is. It's going to be free to watch, and we're going to stream it on YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Basically, what we're going to do throughout the day is offer just a whole variety of different programming.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's going to be like little quick hit stuff. So if we have a panel presentation, quote unquote panel presentation, because it's not really a panel presentation unless there's a live audience, in my opinion. But we will have discussions online where we interview different people. Everybody's welcome to look and to watch and to hang out with us all day. We are going to be raising funds throughout the program for the Angelino campaign, and that provides financial assistance to low-income families in LA that have been impacted by COVID.
Oh, nice.
And layoffs.
Okay.
So that's something very nice that David really wanted to do.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So Midsummer Scream, we do consider ourselves the gateway to Halloween season, and so we knew that the weekend could not come and go and not a peep from us,
right?
Except an Instagram post,
right?
It sucks. We wish we were on Long Beach. We're not going to do that,
Yeah.
right? So we had to do something.
Yeah.
So we did decide that we were going to do this all day live stream. And so it's one day. It's going to be a fun thing. And it's going to be interviews throughout the day with haunters and event producers discussing their Halloween plans.
Oh, nice.
One of the plans, and this is all subject to change. One of the ideas we have is that every hour, near the top of the hour, I'm going to drop in with some of the home haunters and prominent haunters from around the community and just do a quick little talk with them about what their plans are
Wonderful.
for the season.
So you'll be popping in every hour?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to be there. Yes, I'll be there.
Hey, it's me again.
Yes. With my Red Bull, and I'll be there all day long. So do that. We're also, there are going to be, we're looking at what panels, again, quote unquote panel presentations, each of us can hold, that type of thing. We are talking to different companies, large and small, about participating. The thing that's crazy is the larger partners that you would maybe expect to see on a midsummer broadcast that maybe have larger events, that's all up in the air right now. So it's really hard for them to come online and say, well, this is what we're going to do today. And then the next day, well, we've canceled our event, type of thing. So There's a lot of uncertainty. And that's also something that leading up to our decision about Midsummer Scream this year, we couldn't really get anybody to commit because as COVID became a bigger and bigger thing, everybody got very squirrely about, well, you can announce that we're going to be there if this doesn't get worse, type of thing. And it came to a point where we would already have started announcing panels and stuff, and we didn't have really much of anything locked because nobody would commit.
Right.
So we knew that we had a really serious problem on our hands this year.
Everybody was
that was
becoming,
one of our problems.
Everyone was becoming uneasy about this whole COVID-19 stuff.
Yeah. So that was one of our problems. But don't have to worry about the COVID when you're sitting at home watching our live stream on August 1st from 11 to 7. We are going to have we're going to have different live broadcasts from around LA and the Southland here, as well as from around the country.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So we are working on dropping in on places around the country. Some of the places we're talking to about doing live remotes from would be the Fourth Horseman in Long Beach.
Beautiful.
Which is like the best pizza in Long Beach.
Yes, absolutely.
If you haven't had it, man, you got to hit up Fourth Horseman.
Yes, you do.
We love them. They're really awesome. Dirk's Terror Tavern in Sherman Oaks. Winchester Mystery House.
Yes.
They want to do something with us now. They had to close again.
I heard.
Which really, that's horrible for them. And we feel really bad for that team up there because they've really planned on how to, work around this and keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
And then just the harder restrictions again, here we go. And they had just opened their new way of seeing the house and they just had to close again. And so they want to do something with us, and we want them on the show. They've been a partner of ours since the beginning, and they're a great team. So look for something from Winchester and Sleepy Hollow, New York.
Oh,
Ooh, wow.
We're looking at dropping in there,
Okay.
and Orlando, Florida
hey,
is going to be in the house.
Okay.
So we do have it kind of covered, from coast to coast. We're going to have select short films also curated by our partners at Horror Buzz.
Okay.
So we're going to be broadcasting some spooky things to watch also during the day.
That sounds like
That
fun.
sounds
Yeah.
And we're going to keep it, the real theme of Midsummer, even though it ranges from very kid friendly to very not kid friendly
Right.
for some of our programming. Our entire first hour that we do this thing is going to be the kids hour, and it's going to start with crafts and an interview with Disney author Vera Strange, who's coming out with the book series, the
Yes.
Disney Chills.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've worked that out with Disney Publishing. They want to be part of whatever we're doing. And they came to us. Actually, you asked if people come to us. So Disney Publishing came to us and said, hey, we want to be part of Midsummer Scream this year.
Wonderful.
Wow.
And
That's
so they were going to, and then this all happened. And they were great. They were like, well, despite all this, we still want to be part of whatever you guys are doing. And so it's been a really fantastic time, really kind of partnering with Disney.
That's
on this stuff.
amazing. See, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, gentlemen, Halloween's not dead.
There we go.
It's not dead.
There
It
we
just
go.
had to be adapted. That's all. That's brilliant.
So it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun, and we hope you guys will tune in.
So basically, everyone's gonna get their Midsummer Scream fix just online.
There you go.
That's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
And maybe I think everybody should watch in costume.
Ooh,
See, even though we can't see you, we want to know that you guys are all sitting there in costumes.
that would
right?
be fun.
There
I think
you
I might
go.
do that with my kids.
There
I'm
you
always
go.
in costume.
There you go.
That's just me.
I always know. You know what? That'll be fun. Actually, I think I want to do it with my kids, where we just put our costumes on. Watch
love that. We
watch
love
the
that.
crafts with Midsummer Scream and all that. And that's something actually that we're doing at home too. Is we're trying to do a lot more crafting and everything. And I'm really pushing Halloween on them a
There
lot.
you go. Good.
Sometimes I'll ask them like, hey, what do you guys want to watch as a movie? And they'll tell me like, Charlie Brown, The Great Pumpkin.
Yeah.
Which we watched 3 times yesterday.
What I think would be fun. I'm sitting here, my wheels are turning. They may be a little rusty these days, but they are turning. And I'm thinking when we're done here, I think I need to call David and say, hey, why don't we tell people we want them to watch in costume, and they can send us pictures and then we can show pictures
That would be
of
fantastic.
fans watching in costume.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna get my costume on. I'll be
There
right
you
back.
go. So that's how these things happen, gentlemen.
Yeah, you hear that, listeners? So make sure while you're watching, you take your pictures with your costume on and send it over.
There
I
you
think that's
go.
something we'll definitely be posting on our Instagram too. Is watching Midsummer Scream online, wearing our costumes. I think that's a good idea.
That'd be fun. I
Yeah.
think that's a really fun. Yeah,
That'll be fantastic.
I like that.
Well, there we go.
I'll be in my midsummer shirt and probably shorts, and my costume will be the sad producer that's not there in Long Beach. That's
With
what
the
I'm going to go as this
whiskey
year.
in his left hand.
There you go. Yes.
So I wanted to ask you. Now, with the Midsummer Scream closure happening and everything,
Yes.
and you guys going online, I noticed that on your Instagram here that you guys are still selling merchandise.
We do. So one thing that we did decide was, even though our main show was canceled this year, Midsummer, again, it's a community, right? And just because the big show isn't going to go this year, there's no reason to stop being part of the community, and that includes through merchandise for people to represent that they're part of this. So no, we keep forging on with merch ideas, and we've got bandanas now and all that, and the T-shirts, the Save Halloween Quarantine shirts, which people love.
Now I saw you guys sold out of those pretty fast.
Dude, it's like hotcakes.
Oh
man.
my gosh!
And again, that's a David and Claire handle that stuff. And again, I'm glad that's not my dealio, because they got to be going crazy with the amount of orders that come in, and it is really fast.
Yeah.
And so no, and we love that, and we see that as we're very proud, because we see that as a lot of love from the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously,
Absolutely.
if your product sucks, people aren't gonna be like, "Oh, take my money, I want a shirt." So no, we know that the community really loves it, and we know that the community understands why we canceled, and so no, I very, very. I mean, very early on, when David and I were having very frank conversations about this before we, officially pulled the trigger, I said we have to make sure then if we are going to go dormant for another year and a half, that we are more out there than we've ever been online and brand wise.
Yeah.
And he agreed wholeheartedly. So you will see wave after wave of new things coming out.
Oh, absolutely. I love what you guys sell, though. I mean, the bandanas were a very smart idea to do.
Yeah.
I love the Save Halloween T-shirts.
Yep.
I was very disappointed that I didn't get there on time to get one. But if you guys ever make them or have them out again, I will be right on top of that.
I got you. We get questions. We get that all the time. And so they're very aware that stuff will.
That's good, though. Yeah. That's good. That's amazing. Gentlemen, did you have any other questions that you would like to ask?
No, I'm good.
I was just thinking about that Save Halloween. It just reminds me of Save Ferris.
Oh.
We always try to talk a little bit about the paranormal, and
Sure.
so I do have, I guess, one question in particular.
Okay.
We've asked this of many of our interviewees. Do you personally have any experience with the paranormal? Have you come across, had any history with it?
And if I may, do you believe in the paranormal?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think that there are a lot of things that are unexplainable because we don't have the capacity to understand what's there, whether that's a parallel universe or what have you, or a spirit world that we can't see. I don't know that I believe in straight up heaven and hell, and there's demons and angels floating around. I don't know about that, but I do have to believe that there is something. I do believe that there is something after we cash out, right? After we cash out, because the idea that it's like the end of Sopranos is just really depressing, right? That's And as humans, I don't think that we can like fully accept or comprehend that because that's just too sad. I mean, it's sad, right?
Yeah.
You won't see your pets, you won't see your friends or family ever again. I mean, that's just so. Even if it's a man-made construct, I think that's something that we all just hang on to, right? Whether it's through religion or spirituality or whatever. That said, I do have a ghost story. Now, I'm not
Wow.
I'm not somebody that's jumpy at all.
Okay.
I grew up the kid. I mean, I grew up the kid who loved horror movies, that begged his grandfather to take him. I mean, I went to the theater to see Halloween 2 and the original Nightmare on Elm Street and all that. So I never got scared at all of horror movies. And when I was a little kid and realized that there were things called haunted houses that you could go to, dude, it was like I was on crack for these things. And I was dragging my grandfather would drag me all over the Inland Empire where I grew up, going to like March of Dimes haunted house, that type of thing. And then when I was about 11 or 12 or so, I went to Knott's Scary Farm for the first time. And that was in the very early 80s. And that was just like, I've found Nirvana. And that really began my just torrid love affair with Halloween. So when I graduated high school, I went to work at Disneyland as a cast member in the late 80s. And one of the attractions I worked was the Haunted Mansion. And so you're going to get a ghost story from the most famous haunted house in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is, by the way, unplanned. Rick West is going to tell us a ghost story from the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. David, can we get some mood music, please?
Wonderful. I can sense those sympathetic vibrations.
Yeah.
So
When we harmonize.
what happened was, first of all, back in the day, if you can imagine, in the late 80s, the mansion didn't have a security camera system. Pirates did, because I worked Pirates also. We had cameras and Pirates in the tower, but we didn't have any cameras at all in the Haunted Mansion. And as it was always said, they're not to act as security, they are for guest safety. They're for security too.
Yeah.
And so it was just amazing to me when I was trained on mansion that there was, how could you not have cameras in the mansion? And they would say, oh yeah, well, people always get out of the dune buggies and they're always running around in here and that type of thing. I said, well, what do you do? What do you do to stop that then? And they said, well, there's a position called safety. And I'm like, well, what is that? They're like, well, very few people do it because it's just not their thing. And I said, well, do tell me more about this safety. They said, well, basically you spend your entire shift walking the track behind the dune buggies throughout the entire attraction, making sure that people are behaving. And I'm like, okay, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm not in rotation. I'm my own deal, and I walk around through all the scenes behind the dune buggies out of sight, and that's my gig for like. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I need to be that guy. And so I was one of very few cast members that like did that on a regular basis.
Okay.
And it got to the point where I knew, and I mean, it's been a long time. It's been over 30 years. But I know the mansion like the back of my hand. And so walking around in the mansion, it's spooky because back in the day, like when we were talking about when Disneyland wasn't crowded every day to capacity, we had off seasons, and there were very often, 10-minute pauses between groups or more in the mansion. And boy, when you're late at night in the mansion and it's just you and the attic scene or you and the seance circle and nothing else in the cars that are going by, boy, you can hear the attraction creaks and groans, and it makes noises, and it vibrates, and it rumbles. And one of the things that we did love doing back in the day, I'm sure, I don't know anybody that works the mansion anymore, and I'm sure just because of OSHA and all that, this stuff is like so fun sponged at this point. But back in the day, we would take the slow seasons or whatever, and we would like scare the crap out of each other in the attraction.
What?
It was like a constant game of like hide and go seek.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'd be sitting there, in the ballroom or whatever. When I say sitting in the ballroom, behind, as you're looking down into the ballroom, if you ever turn and look behind you, you've got about 15 feet of space back there before it hits the wall.
Oh, okay.
Because if you think about the way the ballroom works, you have to have that space up and down. So there's a wheelchair back there. It's still there, I think, because that's an emergency exit. I would just sit there sometimes waiting for groups to come through. And oh man, people would come through the emergency exit and around the corner at me, that type of thing. So we used to just have such a blast scaring the living hell, and sending new people through the ride to do a walkthrough. Oh, and then I get the radio call because we didn't have texting back then. Yeah. And so I'd get the radio call, you have noobs coming through, and I would just scare the hell out of them coming through. So we were constantly funning each other like that, right? And there is an area as you go up into the very first corridor right before you turn to look down the endless hall, there's a doorway, but it's got a really heavy black Dubatine curtain hanging in it. Just beyond that is a space of maybe here to the end of the table. It's like a foot. And then there's a wooden ladder that goes straight up to a catwalk that goes over the conservatory that you pass through, where the guy's all, let me out of here, let me out of here.
Okay.
So that's how you get up there. You didn't hear that from me, and stay in your dune buggies.
Listeners, if you could just keep a secret between all of us, that'd be great.
Right.
Thank you.
Shh, nobody knows. Just us. One of the great places to stand was to frame your shoulders in that doorway up against that black curtain. And then you got to the point where you could hear troublemakers as they were getting into the load area. You could hear them being loud coming down the hall. You could hear them loud, whistling or shouting to each other as they started coming up into the darkness. So you're like, okay, this is going to be a rowdy group or whatever. And so that's a place where safety very often would stand and get a handle on who was coming through in this load of people. And one night, very late, I was waiting for the group to come up like that. And ever so slightly, at first, I felt someone put their hand on my right shoulder from behind and then push down really heavy. And I jumped really hard because you do. And the hackles went up immediately, and I spun around, and we had like the 3-foot mag lights, that we used to walk through there with, right?
Yeah.
And instantly that went on, and there was like nobody there. It's like zero. Nobody was there. And there's no way for anybody to have gone up the ladder that fast because we're talking probably 15, 20 feet on the ladder.
Yeah.
So it's a big, long ladder, right? And so there you go. I'm not a jumpy guy at all. And there are numerous, ghost stories around the Haunted Mansion. Standing at load late at night, you can often hear children giggling or a baby crying in the abyss, which is on the other side of the load belt down there. And they told me that, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's also the sound of the load belt, the gears squeaking and echoing in here and all that stuff. Yeah. But this, honest to God, it was a very heavy weight on my right shoulder.
Wow.
And so, whether it was a ghost, whether it was some sort of weird phantom sensation that I had, I don't know what it was. There is no explanation for that.
And did you ever have that same?
No.
It just that one
That
time.
was it.
Wow.
That was a one and done.
Wow.
One and done.
Oh my gosh.
It was freaky, but it didn't freak me out. And I never was like, oh, I'm done doing safety, whatever. No,
Yeah.
I loved doing safety.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was probably my favorite gig at Disneyland.
That's awesome.
But there you go. That is my one and done. But I think it's a doozy. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Yep.
I don't even know what to say right now. I mean, I know there's the whole, 999 ghosts and,
Yeah.
Grimly Ghosts come out to socialize and all that, but I believe one tried to socialize with
Somebody
you.
socialized on my shoulder. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I almost socialized in my pants. So, yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Mr. West, Rick, thank you very much for sharing that ghost story with us.
It's fun.
That was unplanned. That was great.
awesome.
yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was-
All right. Well, that was a heck of a ghost story that we just got from Rick West. And I think that's going to do it for another episode here of Into the Void. But before we go, gentlemen, do you know what time it is? It's time for one last word from our sponsor.
Hail, thine old father, for only he can supply such jewelry, watches, axes, and apparel as one would find at VikingJeans.com. Find Viking styles for all members of your family. Lo, do they have styles for thine father? Lo, do they have styles for thine mother? Lo, they have styles for thy brother and sister too. Viking Jeans has the Norse wear for you and yours. So before riding into battle alongside the Valkyries and the mighty Thor with his trusted hammer Mjolnir, be sure to visit VikingJeans.com. That's VikingJeans.com.
Well, that's such a fun ad. Okay, well, if you like what you heard here, then be sure to tune into our previous and upcoming episodes, which you can find on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, give a follow on all our social media pages, Facebook at Pod Paranormal 87, Instagram at Void Podcast 18, Twitter at Nightwing Silver, and visit our website, intothevoidpod.com. That's intothevoidpod.com to check out our latest in-studio picks and more. And don't forget, you can get yourself a sweet custom-made Into the Void sticker by joining our Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Into the Void Pod. Your support helps fuel this show and its future endeavors. And with that, thank you to Rick West. It has truly been a pleasure to be able to gain some more insight about Midsummer Scream from you, the creative director. Sir, this has truly been an honor, so thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me. This has been really fun, and it's nice not to wear the mask for a little bit. And but we are sitting like 20 feet apart, so it's okay. Anytime you guys want to chat, I'd be more than happy to come join you again. This has been delightful. Thank you so much for having me.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And just on behalf of the entire Midsummer team, we love you guys. We see each of you. We're all in this together, and we will get through this.
Yes, absolutely.
Well said.
Well, lastly, big thank you to our sponsor for these past three episodes.
Wow.
Viking Jeans. Amazing. All right. Well, that's going to do it for me. I'm G-Man, and I wanted to make a skeleton joke, but I don't think you'd find it very humorous. So until then, thank you for falling with me.